I can't believe I'm back here again, doing this again. But unfortunately, after my previous call-out video about Zemaroon, I learned a lot of new information about the two people whose names I censored in that video. And the information I received about both of them is, to put it lightly, extremely bad. So, on top of making this new video about them, I will no longer be censoring their names. First of all, if there are any newcomers here, hi, my name is Dr. Highfish, and I'm the author of the Danganronpa V3 fanfic Amalgamate. You can just call me Jamie, which is the name I go by outside of the fanfic world. The last video I uploaded to this channel was a video documenting a year of extremely problematic behavior from someone in the Danganronpa fandom. And while I never intended to make a follow-up video, I'm afraid some new information has forced my hand. If you're someone who hasn't watched my previous call-out video, I do urge you to do that, not only for context, but because the purpose of it was to spread awareness about someone who posed a danger to many people online. However, if you haven't watched that video yet, I hope you'll still continue watching this one. It's true that some of what I'm about to talk about will tie in to that call-out video, but I think the things we're about to discuss are serious enough that this call-out can also stand on its own. So, for those who have watched my Zemaroon call-out video, the one I called F in that video is actually Agent0Fluffy. I don't actually know if I'm saying that correctly. Agent0Fluffy? Agent0Fluffy? I don't know. She's 26 years old and a very popular and prolific voice actor. She's actually best known for her work in the My Little Pony fandom, as well as Danganronpa, and also like Undertale and a few others. She was also cast to play the role of Kaito's grandmother in the audio series adaptation of my Danganronpa V3 fanfic Amalgamate. The person I called V in the video is actually GravityUniverse115. Again, I don't know if I'm saying that right. GravityUniverse115? 115? I don't know, whatever. She's 24 years old and a very popular fanfic author. She's best known for her works in the Danganronpa fandom, in particular, her Sayoma content. Before we proceed, I also want to give a major trigger warning. In this video, I will be talking about and showing screenshots that contain an adult being extremely sexually inappropriate with a minor, although I will do my best to censor the most graphic content. There will also be mentions of child grooming, slurs, death threats, and just a lot of overall emotional distress and damage. Again. Yeah, apologies for my lack of humor compared to my last video, but needless to say, I am just beyond defeated by the behavior of the adults I've been dealing with online. So, just to explain how I ended up with all of this new information, let's just say that my call-out video about Zemaroon opened up quite the Pandora's box. As it turns out, a staggering number of people from not even just the Danganronpa fandom, but from all kinds of fandom spaces had very serious issues with Zemaroon and his friends, and those people had been bottling a lot of that pain up. Many people then began either directly or indirectly sharing stories of what had happened to them. Some of my new information came in the form of comments left here on YouTube or Tumblr or Discord, but most of the information actually came to me privately via DMs on Discord and even Instagram. Needless to say, I have felt like a priest in a confessional for weeks now, and I don't say that in a good way. For a couple weeks after my call-out video, I'd start every single day by waking up to new messages and screenshots from those who knew or had been involved with Zem and his inner circle. It's been exhausting and very emotionally draining to receive so many horror stories every day for weeks on end. But at the same time, I am glad all of these people finally had someone they could come to in order to help spread awareness and seek some closure. But the thing is, the more people came to me about Zemaroon, the more the names of Agent0Fluffy and GravityUniverse115 came up, I learned a lot of horrible things about them. That got me to at least start spreading awareness in certain fandom circles on Discord, but it wasn't until I learned something genuinely shocking about Fluffy that I realized I was going to have to make another call-out video. Yay! Since the Fluffy situation is far more serious and urgent, let's talk about her first before too many people click away. But I just want to say that yes, we will talk about Fluffy, then we will talk about Gravity Universe, and I also do want to do just a few follow-ups with additional details about Zemaroon that I have learned since my call-out video. But yes, let us start with Fluffy. So for those of you who watched my previous call-out video, you might be surprised by a lot of what I'm saying, because in that video, I said that the person called F had untangled themselves from the Zem situation and personally apologized to me. I also mentioned that after she did that, she returned to the Amalgamate Discord server and there were no hard feelings. So, how did I go from I forgive Agent0Fluffy to oh dear God, I now have to make another call-out video? Well, for those who watched the Zemaroon video, you might recall that a lot of his most problematic behavior centered around a minor named Nathan. Nathan was, at the time, 13 years old, although he is now 14. Zem invited Nathan into a private Discord server after Zem's meltdown and departure from the Amalgamate server. I've since learned that despite Nathan being the only minor in a server full of adults, he was at some point made a mod. I only bring that up to provide context for how much of a, and I'm quoting a former member of that server here, hole of misery Zem's server was. And it was via that hole of misery that Nathan came into direct contact with adults like Gravity Universe and Agent0Fluffy. So, a few weeks ago, Nathan was commiserating with some former members of Zem's server and happened to bring up an incident that occurred between him and Fluffy. He said, and obviously I will paraphrase here, "Y'all know she told me that her boyfriend F's her A." As you can see here, the other adults were understandably mortified. Nathan also added, "You know what she showed me? An effing period blood, I don't want to say that word, stain." Yeah. This information was so shocking that one of the adults Nathan was speaking to came directly, immediately to my DMs about it. And, oh goody, they brought me some screenshots from Nathan. In them, Fluffy appears to be talking about, making love to someone. She says, "Not actually paralyzed, but still, I also love it when I bite his lip gently during the kiss and when he kisses down my neck. Like, I love it when Crimson's finger goes down my spine and makes me paralyzed in pleasure." She also said, "Get this, he effed me from behind as he railed me. I also love being fingered." The person mentioned here, Crimson, is Fluffy's boyfriend of 7.5 years. You might be thinking it's rather callous of me to expose his identity and not even attempt to censor his name, but as you'll see later in this video, Crimson is totally aware of what his girlfriend did and is totally cool with it. Anyway, as you can imagine, I was absolutely horrified by what I was seeing. Agent0Fluffy is 26. Nathan was either 13 or 14 when this happened. He was literally and numerically half her age. So I immediately went running to Nathan because, dear God, I needed to figure out what the hell happened and what in the world was going on. I said, I just saw the screenshots from blank about Fluffy. She discussed her sex life with you in graphic, explicit detail with photos. I'm speechless with horror. Nathan replies, oh yeah, she did all of that. She told me all the things she likes to do with her boyfriend. It's like, bro, by the way, not even a few days ago, Fluffy just said they would only contact me once a week. Like, she pretty much just dropped me. Like, did our friendship mean anything to her? This is so depressing. After some back and forth, I knew I was going to have to confront Fluffy, so I started asking Nathan some questions. I said, I can't even believe what I saw in those screenshots. I would never even tell another adult that kind of stuff, let alone a minor. Were those DMs between the two of you, or was she speaking in the server? And I mentioned that it doesn't matter either way because both are wrong. I just wanted to make sure that I had my facts right. And unfortunately, Nathan confirmed that those screenshots were in the DMs between them. Yeah. That was a 26-year-old in private DMs with a 13-year-old. Nathan said, I do want to say that I did say that I was okay with the topic of sex being talked about in her DMs, but I thought we were just going to talk about like tame stuff, like jokes and stuff, but not full on showing me her stain. Nathan also provided me with this screenshot from Agent Fluffy that said, I know it's a lot to take in, but you did say you are okay with me talking about sex with you. Like, I go into detail. Nathan added, I pretty much only told her that I was okay with it because I felt like during that moment she was my only true friend. So I made sure to explain to Nathan, no, minors can't consent to this kind of thing. There was nothing you could have said that would have made it okay for her to talk about sexual content with you. Even if an adult friend of hers said it was okay, this would have been way too far, let alone a minor. I mean, seriously, I could not believe a 26-year-old was in private DMs with a 13-year-old discussing her sex life in graphic detail, and even admitted to the minor that she was aware of the fact that there's no way this is what he meant when he said he was fine with this stuff. You might think it's strange that I'm emphasizing this awareness factor, but the reason I'm zeroing in on it will become clear very soon. Now, there was a time before Zemaroon's miserable plague swept through my life that I would have cowered away in terror at the thought of any confrontation. Well, not anymore. Zemaroon in 2024 made sure of that. So, I immediately stormed off to Fluffy's DMs, and without missing a beat, I said, you discussed your sex life in graphic detail, including photos, in DMs with a child. Fluffy says, no, of course not. And I said, I have screenshots. To which Fluffy flips real fast and says, Jamie, I can explain. Can you let me explain, Jamie? Fluffy wanted to plead her case by a voice call, and I have no idea if that was because she genuinely thought it would be easier or if she was just trying to manipulate the situation to avoid me taking screenshots, but I was having none of it. Fluffy also insisted that she would never send photos to a child and asked to see all my evidence. So, before we continue, I want to make it clear that the photo aspect of this story is alleged, because there was no way I was going to send a child off to find a screenshot of something like that. Unlike Fluffy, I actually care about the mental well-being of children, and I was doing everything in my power to handle the situation in a way that wouldn't re-traumatize Nathan. However, to provide some additional context, I did ask Nathan for a few extra details about the photo a few days later, for reasons that I'll explain once we're farther into the video. From what I was told, and again, this is alleged, because I haven't seen the image for myself. The photo was of some stains on a plushie. And Fluffy told Nathan that this was as a result of relations with her boyfriend. Nathan also told me that this incident occurred on an entirely separate day from the June 9th and 10th incidents, and it happened during a private voice call. So, yeah, I don't want to dwell on or discuss the photo any longer because all of this is alleged for the time being. And I don't like to talk about things I can't concretely prove to my viewers. I'm only bringing it up to provide context for what's being talked about in some of these screenshots. Even if it turns out that the photo doesn't exist and this never happened, the things Fluffy said in private DMs to a literal child are so heinous, it wouldn't make a lick of difference whether or not a photo was involved. The situation is already beyond bad without the photo. But apparently Fluffy didn't think so, because as you can see here, she began trying to declare her innocence by stating that the child was totally cool with it. She insists that she did ask beforehand if it's okay, and I didn't know that they were actually uncomfortable with it. I will stop it around kids. This is a learning experience for me. Isn't it funny how Zemaroon, GravityUniverse115, and Agent0Fluffy all do the same thing when confronted with this stuff? It's always the minor's fault and always the minor's responsibility and never their own. According to Fluffy here, this is definitely Nathan's fault because he didn't say no. He didn't say he was uncomfortable. So the victim surely is to blame here, according to Fluffy. This is just a learning experience for her. Sorry about my language here in my response to Fluffy, but needless to say, I was livid. In fact, I still am. But upon seeing that the victim didn't say no, so it's totally fine argument wasn't gonna work on me, Fluffy tried a new tactic. She said, "Jamie, I am autistic." I replied, "You are 26. Fluffy responds, "I know, but I am on the spectrum. I truly had no idea at the time." You know, I don't want to get political here, but isn't it interesting how there's currently a situation happening right now in this week of January 2025 in which a well-known public figure is also blaming a heinous act that's illegal in some countries on having autism? What a weird coincidence. Now, obviously, this is a rather sensitive and precarious subject, and I'm about to share more screenshots in which Fluffy talks about being on the spectrum. So before we continue, I just want to clarify, I am not someone who is diagnosed autistic. For a couple of years, the dilemma seemed to be whether I had autism or ADHD. I realize now that someone can have both, but this was over 15 years ago. Yes, I'm old AF. But after we realized amphetamines pretty much knocked me unconscious, the psychiatrist went with the diagnosis that I had severe ADHD. That being said, in the past year or two, I have seemingly stopped responding to ADHD medications altogether. And so one of my goals in 2025 is having my diagnosis reevaluated. I've just started to suspect that the you can only have one or the other approach was perhaps a bit misguided. But the point is, I don't think being suspected of having autism is enough in this situation. Since I don't have an official diagnosis, I don't believe it is my place to speak on this subject, even though for the sake of this video's subject matter, in some ways, I'm going to have to. So, I just want to make it clear that after I said you are 26, I actually ceased all communication with Fluffy. She continued to message me trying to plead her innocence for over 24 hours after I went silent, and yes, I was reading everything she was saying to me as it came in, but I made the decision to no longer respond to her because I didn't feel like it was something I was even in a position to respond to. And also because Fluffy kept digging her own grave all on her own the more she messaged me, and I certainly wasn't going to stop her. So, while Fluffy continued pleading with my cold shoulder, I actually did seek out some people in private who have confirmed autism diagnoses, and I explained to them what was going on because I wanted to hear their opinions about this. And the overall consensus from the other adults on the spectrum appeared to be one of utter disgust that Fluffy would use her diagnosis as a shield to excuse her genuinely illegal behavior. As you can see here, I even had a friend introduce me to someone who is autistic. My friend said, "Just want you to know that my friend blank is on your side in this matter. She advocates for positivity and understanding the autistic community, and it is sick that Agent0Fluffy is ruining that crap." To which the other person replied, "Yes, 100%. I'm autistic, and it drives me crazy whenever someone like this gives autistic people a bad name." They must be fuming with recent current events. Another autistic person I spoke to went on a small rant about Fluffy, in which they said, "You are 26 goddamn years old. Any struggling from adjusting from minor to adult and appropriate conversations due to autism at this point is just an excuse. As someone autistic myself, I won't deny that there can be some small growing pains or mistakes as things suddenly switch, but that's what being 18 is for. If you're still struggling at the age of 26, you are either handicapped to a very severe degree or lying." Unfortunately, some of the autistic people who learned about this situation were so angry with Fluffy, their replies would involve me turning basically everything red with censor bars, so I'm not going to bother. The point is, so far, every single autistic person I've brought this up to, with zero exceptions, has been repulsed and offended by Agent0Fluffy using autism as some kind of explanation for graphically discussing her sex life in private DMs with a child who had just barely entered high school. So, despite the fact that I bowed out of the conversation with Fluffy, in part because I was, honestly, I was so angry, I was genuinely worried about the things I'd say if I didn't go cold turkey, she continued to spam me for hours, trying to plead her innocence. Here she said, "I am no neurotypical person. I am on the spectrum, so it was a mistake on my part. I'm learning not to do that stuff again." She also said, "I'm developmentally delayed in my social skills, and in your eyes, I shouldn't be for my age." You can read the rest of this yourself if you'd like to, but these messages irritate me so much. I may not have an autism diagnosis, but I've got all kinds of not neurotypical issues. I was a special ed student with a whole host of developmental delays, including social ones. Some of my neurodivergent issues were so severe that I eventually went into extreme isolation for years as an adult, which only delayed me even further. So, in general, I really don't appreciate Fluffy trying to equate neurodivergency with somehow thinking it's okay to tell a child in private that your boyfriend likes to rail you. The other thing that irritates me about these messages is the selfishness. You'll see later in this video that Gravity Universe does the exact same thing Fluffy's doing here. They never show any concern for the people who were harmed by their own actions. It's just me, 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 me. Fluffy says, "I'm concerned about what you'll say about me now. Nathan told me he thought him and Fluffy were genuine friends." But there's not a single word here about Nathan and how he might be affected. Fluffy's only worried about herself and her reputation. And yet, despite me very specifically telling Fluffy not to use voice messages, she went and did it anyway. Too bad for her, it's not exactly difficult to transcribe them. In her first message, in a very irritated tone, she said, "Like I said, Jamie, I'm learning from this experience. I know I'm 26. I know I'm effing 26, but I'm developmentally delayed and I am on the autistic spectrum. I am autistic, and sometimes I say things I don't mean and stuff like that, and I gotta learn not to do that in front of them, you know? Like, I've learned to control that. I've learned to control that. Because at the time, I truly didn't know, and this is a learning experience for me, okay? I'm no PDF file. I'm nothing of the sort. I'm very serious, Jamie." Interesting that she brought up PDF files here, because I sure didn't. And I only mention that because it's a little strange for Fluffy to use the argument that she truly didn't understand at the time enough to be at fault when she keeps making it abundantly clear that she did understand. She's fully aware of the fact that what she did could be equated with the actions of a PDF file. She's clearly aware of it because at no point did I bring any of that up at all. And in the second voice message, Fluffy talked to me like I was the most irritating little brat she's ever had to deal with in her life. This is someone who, by the way, was sending me voice messages in tears a week earlier because of the situation with Gravity Universe, but here, Fluffy showed no remorse in her voice. It was a complete 180 from the Fluffy that I know. There was nothing but anger and annoyance towards me for bothering her about this. She said, "That's why, Jamie, I'm going to therapy in the future. It's speech therapy to help with my pragmatic skills and be able to improve my social skills and to make sure that what's appropriate and what isn't, that type of thing." I know the grammar's really weird here, but this is just word for word what she said. "And I am learning myself and everything, and I know, Jamie, you're mad at me for it, and I understand. I hope you can forgive me, Jamie, for it, because I am not and will not do that stuff again and talk about that kind of stuff, okay?" I mean, with all due respect, Fluffy, why should I care about the fact that you're supposedly not gonna do this again? You already did it. The damage is done. Unfortunately, Fluffy's desperate spamming wasn't done. Next up, Fluffy says, "I know it seems like you don't believe me, Jamie, but I'm going to work hard at improving and learning from it. I seriously promise you, Jamie, that it's just a mistake. I'm terrified, Jamie. What do you think of this? Can I have a second chance? I pinky promise you I am not going to do that again. It was an honest mistake. Cross my heart. I promise I will go to therapy to improve myself. My mom is going to have me go to therapy again, and when I'm done with therapy, I'll improve as a person. Also, Jamie, I'm going to heal too and learn and grow as a person and learn that, yes, even though I'm 26, I'm still learning what is appropriate and what isn't. I'm not going to do stuff like that, Jamie. I'm serious, Jamie." And again, it's like she only cares about herself here. I mean, seriously, the audacity of her to say that she needs to heal from this. Girl, you traumatized a child. He needs to heal from this. The people affected by what you've done need to heal from this. Do you literally only care about yourself? Anyway, I transcribed the voice messages. The third and fourth messages combined say, "I know you don't believe me, Jamie. I know you don't believe me, but I seriously am going to improve myself as a person and not do that stuff again. I pinky promise you, Jamie, that is going to happen. Okay, I will go to therapy, Jamie. I promise you I will go to therapy to improve myself as a person, and this is why my mom is going to have me go to therapy, so that way I can improve my social skills and learn not to do something like that again." Whew. Fun fact, I was actually in special ed in part because I couldn't read until I was like 9 years old, but hey, I'm making improvements too. But on a more serious note, I don't understand why Fluffy's trying to convince me to forgive her by citing therapy sessions that don't even exist yet and seemingly haven't even been scheduled. Like, I'm not sure I've ever heard emptier promises in my life. So I continued to ignore her, and she sent me a message acting as if somehow everything she said might actually be a satisfactory explanation. And then hours later, she continued doubling down by victim blaming Nathan once again. She said, "Nathan said quite a few times it was okay and agreed. If you need that proof that I did nothing wrong. I asked permission beforehand. I didn't straight up tell the details right away. If they said no, then I wouldn't press further. Simple as that." Fluffy just will not stop trying to spin the narrative that what she did was totally fine and not literally illegal because a child didn't say no. It chills me to my core that right here Fluffy explicitly states, "I did nothing wrong." I don't know if Fluffy actually believes that or thinks she can just convince me of that, but unfortunately, from a legal and moral standpoint, she very much did do something wrong. And if she's truly going to stand by this statement that despite all of this, she did nothing wrong, I don't see how therapy is really going to help. Seems like she's already made up her mind. Which is why I don't give a rat's ass about her excuses. And the next day, I went to Melody Snowflake and Fire Art about the situation. We all agreed without any debate or question whatsoever that Agent0Fluffy needed to be fired from the Amalgamate Audio Series. I can't think of someone I would less want to voice Kaito's kindly grandmother who took in a runaway child in the flashback scenes of my fic than someone who would violate the trust of a child like this. So Fire proceeded to, no pun intended, fire Fluffy from the project. And apparently Fluffy didn't like that because, oh look, here she is back in my DMs 5 minutes later, still insisting she did absolutely nothing wrong. She said, "These are the times that Nathan said it was okay multiple times, so I did nothing wrong." And then sent me a bunch of screenshots. But oh boy, Fluffy. This was the biggest mistake you could have possibly made. See, in one of these screenshots, she accidentally showed me something rather interesting. Right here, she said specifically to Nathan, "I don't usually talk about sexual stuff towards minors." Girl, I'm sorry. This is another one of those, like, if I don't laugh, I'll cry kind of situations. Like, it's not funny. It's just like, I laugh when I get upset about things. I mean, girl, you mean to tell me that you literally said to a minor that you were talking about sexual stuff towards a minor, and that it's something you wouldn't usually do? It's almost like you're totally aware of the fact that this is a thing people aren't supposed to do. Like, I can't believe you've been trying to convince me that you had no idea what you were doing due to some lack of social understanding, and then you sent me a screenshot of you literally saying you were talking about content with a minor. Like, was this a mistake? Did you, like, mean to crop this out or something? You knew! You knew right from the start how messed up this was. You literally confessed that you knew you were speaking to a minor about inappropriate topics. You said it to the minor. The audacity of you to act like you had no idea what you were doing and no clue that it was wrong. You knew. You told the minor you were aware of the fact that you were discussing disturbingly inappropriate topics with a minor, and then in that same conversation told him, "I know it's a lot to take in. Like, I go into detail." It's unbelievable. Well, I still didn't reply to Fluffy because, what's that saying again? Don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. I mean, I'd left a shovel out for Fluffy to dig her own grave, but I wasn't expecting her to throw herself into it. But there was still one more loose thread we needed to tie up, and that was the issue of Fluffy's boyfriend. After all, she specifically named him in her private DMs with Nathan. Did Crimson, aka the Crimson Pit, know? Because if not, that's an unbelievably obscene violation of trust from your partner, right? So, on January 4th, Fire Art confronted Crimson, and oh boy, my disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. Fluffy said, "All I did was make him laugh to help distract him from a stressful situation." Fire understandably replies, "So you both were okay with sending those kinds of messages to a minor because he gave consent?" Fluffy replies, "Just me, Fire. Nathan gave consent multiple times that he was okay with it. If he said no, I wouldn't have done what I did. He was okay with me joking about that. While yes, my sense of humor is mostly dirty, I never crossed the line to PDF filing. He was never the subject directly." Crimson responds, "My Fluffy is not one to simply tell everyone about our personal lives to anyone. She loves talking about us, but she only tells people about our lives to anyone that she has massive trust with." A 13-year-old? Holy yikes. Does Fluffy sound like Zemaroon here? Acting as though the horrific thing they did to Nathan was somehow doing the child a favor. believable. All I did was to make him laugh to help distract him from a stressful situation. Really, Fluffy? Really? You're gonna sit there and tell me with a straight face that you told Nathan your boyfriend F's you in the A to help distract him from a stressful situation? Yeah? That was for Nathan's benefit? Wow. I mean, if only the victim said no, right? Then this crime wouldn't have happened, ooh. Fluffy, honestly, be so f***ing for real right now. And oh boy, Crimson, you are a level of delusional one does not encounter often in this mortal coil. Your Fluffy doesn't simply tell everyone about your personal lives? Then why is it that I know specifically that you F her in the A while you rail her and you finger her? And supposedly, there's plushies involved. Now here's something that truly sent a chill down my spine. So, in this screenshot, Crimson denies the plush photo ever happened. And that's fine. Again, I haven't seen it myself, so I consider it alleged at best. I don't want people using it as evidence. I only brought it up because it's brought up in a lot of screenshots, but I don't actually know if the photo exists, and so I don't think that it is like a valid piece of this story. However, I do think Crimson is ignoring the fact that his girlfriend can very easily delete anything she wants before handing over her phone, because deleting, as it turns out, is a thing Crimson sure knows how to do. See, a few seconds after Crimson sent this message, he actually edited it. Unfortunately for him, Fire had already taken the screenshot, but in the edit, Crimson changed the word anymore to anywhere. First he said, she doesn't send any kinds of pictures like that anymore. And then it became, she doesn't send any kinds of pictures like that anywhere. Yeah. He implied that this was something Fluffy has done more than once? And upon realizing his mistake, he edited the message. That's what we call a major yikes. Because honestly, I thought it was a bit of a red flag that in the super stupidly incriminating screenshot Fluffy sent me, she said, I don't usually talk about sexual stuff towards minors. What do you mean, usually? Are you saying you've done this before? That this has happened several times, even if it's a rare occurrence? The word usually made me anxious, but I tried to ignore that feeling up until Crimson changed anymore to anywhere. Like, now I'm actually worried. Honestly, the way the conversation ended between Fire, Fluffy, and Crimson is just, like, there's so much to unpack here. It's like a jack-in-the-box of misery, where you keep turning the crank and eventually a serial killer pops out. This here was the last thing Fluffy and Crimson said to Fire. Fluffy said, I understand it was too much. This is not something I constantly do to anyone. I won't be doing it again to minors now that I know of how it can be portrayed to others. This is my sense of humor. I understand this kind of sense of humor is not for everyone. I understand you lost trust in me and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get your trust back. I understand it won't be easy. It doesn't have to be today. Like I said, it was an honest and genuine mistake at the time. To which Crimson adds, we won't force you to do anything you don't want to. We simply told you the whole story. Thanks for hearing us out and understanding the situation. We'll do what we need to do to prove to you that Fluffy is not a horrible person. She's perverted, yes, but not a bad person. We'll do our best to gain your back. I think he meant gain your trust back. Thanks again for listening. We know that it won't be easy and it won't be overnight either, but we do our best. God, where do I even start? First of all, Fluffy, this is ridiculous. Why are you minimizing what you did? This wasn't a situation where something you said was simply too much. You exposed a minor who cannot consent to explicit sexual content, and as always, you show no concern whatsoever for the victim. You're not saying, I won't do this again now that I realize this caused other people harm. You're just saying, well, now that I know this makes me look bad, I guess I'll stop. Seriously? Both you and Crimson need to stop talking so flippantly. You're both talking as if forgiveness is some kind of inevitability here. Why would you even talk about this like you can force forgiveness? Why did that even come up? Why are you talking like surely what happened here was totally reasonable? Like you somehow won this argument despite any evidence to support that arrogant notion? Why are you acting like the ball's in my court to forgive you like you think you deserve? The two of you really don't want to accept the gravity of what Fluffy did, do ya? Crimson, you say your girlfriend's perverted, but not a bad person? Let me put this in the simplest terms possible for you then. If someone is perverted in private DMs with a minor, that does, in fact, make them a bad person. As in, it's literally a crime. Your girlfriend did a crime. And yes, I chose a source from Florida because that's where Fluffy lives. Like, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter what the intent was here. It doesn't matter if it was flirting or platonic. You can't share explicit sexual content with minors. Ever. A minor cannot consent to adult content. It's illegal. And the fact that Fluffy and Crimson keep trying to squirm their way out of this is only making them look worse. Now, based on the reactions to this news that I've already received just on Discord, I assume some of you will be telling me that this is really serious and needs to be escalated beyond just a call-out video. I don't want to get into details, but please don't worry. Some steps were already taken beyond a simple call-out video. I'm taking this whole situation extremely seriously. Real action has been taken, I promise. That's all I'm gonna say. So, if you're someone in the Danganronpa fandom, but also if you're someone in the My Little Pony fandom, please spread the word about the situation. Fluffy's also active in a few other fandoms such as Ace Attorney and Undertale, but she's especially active in the MLP and Danganronpa fandoms. And considering both fandoms are populated by so many minors, this whole situation is honestly really scaring me. Before I went public with this story, I broke the news to a few people who I felt urgently needed to know. One of those people runs a voice acting server on Discord, and as soon as they told the server about Fluffy, it was almost instantly revealed that a 13-year-old voice actor in the server was currently involved in a project with Fluffy. So this is really serious. Both Fluffy and Crimson have said things I find deeply concerning as far as how often this kind of situation may have actually happened. And the situation with Nathan was all the way back in June. That was 8 months ago. Who knows what's happened since then? So please spread the word about what Agent0Fluffy did to Nathan if you're comfortable doing so. The entire purpose of a video like this is to spread awareness with the hopes that it can prevent another incident from occurring. So, if you're in the Danganronpa or My Little Pony fandoms, or even just know people who are, please pass along this video or the information I presented here. And now, let's move on to GravityUniverse115 and the information about her that I've learned since the Zemaroon Fallout video came out. So, as a quick refresh, Gravity Universe was the one called V in the Zemaroon call-out video. She was the one who first DM'd me while I was at MomoCon, and now that I revealed V's identity, I do hope it makes a bit more sense why her DMs triggered an emotional spiral for me that led to my MomoCon breakdown. It's because I wasn't receiving DMs from a total stranger. Universe was a peer, a fellow fanfic writer. Seeing her speaking to me as if I was letting down the Danganronpa fandom was too much for me to bear that day on top of everything else. But here's the thing. The reason I remained fairly harsh towards Universe in my call-out video, despite censoring her name, was because something about our interaction hadn't been sitting right with me for the past 7 or 8 months. See, the day Universe messaged me at MomoCon, she seemed to have quite a bit of info for me. It was already strange to me the way she shared with me that someone was speaking negatively about me, but then backpedaled when I pointed it out. But it was even stranger to me that night when Melody Snowflake started messaging Universe about all of this, and Universe seemingly backpedaled all of it completely again. It's hard to remember a lot of the conversation because I was so out of it while Melody and Universe were talking. But the thing I'll always remember is the way Universe suddenly insisted she didn't know anything about the Zemaroon situation at all. Like, she sent me all that info, then told Melody she actually didn't know a single thing about Zemaroon or him being harassed on Tumblr. The word Universe used was nosy. She said she'd only heard about all of this in passing and wasn't involved and was only bringing it up because she couldn't help being nosy. I even confirmed that this happened with Melody. And I remember it made me feel like I was like losing my mind. It felt like Universe was trying to tell Melody that none of what happened actually happened, even while I was sitting within arm's reach of Melody. So, as sad as this sounds, I was not surprised when Nathan released his call-out post about Zemaroon in November, and within minutes, I had Gravity Universe in my DMs, victim blaming a child who was emotionally abused 4 months by an adult. Universe said to me, "I know the person who called him out, and they're not a blameless victim in this. I have screenshots to prove it." Not a blameless victim. The 13-year-old who spent months being tormented, abused, financially drained, and exposed to endless sexual content, racial slurs, and death threats was not a blameless victim in Universe's eyes. I was disgusted, but I challenged her back and said, "Okay, show me the screenshots." Ghosted. Never heard or saw a thing from her ever again after that. My request for screenshots was the last correspondence we ever had before I blocked Universe a month later. Knowing what I know now, I think it's because she came to me thinking I'd immediately take her side for some reason. So when I was responding in a cold and snappy manner, Universe simply scoffed and left me in the dust. So yeah, fast forward about a month and I just released the Zemaroon call-out video. Even though I'd censored the names of Agent0Fluffy and Gravity Universe, Melody knew who V was. And upon seeing the sheer magnitude of how serious the Zem situation was, Melody went to Gravity Universe demanding some explanations. And I'll be honest, it made me super anxious. I just kept thinking back to that strange night at MomoCon, the way Universe kept acting as if she was suddenly a clueless bystander in all this. Melody was convinced Universe was just a naive people pleaser who gets manipulated easily, but I was done ignoring my gut. I did that for all of 2024, and look where that got us. My gut was telling me that Universe was just a liar. So, Melody began sending me screenshots of the conversation she was having with Universe, and as you can see, Universe insisted that she had no clue how bad the situation was with Zem, and that she was ashamed of herself, and that she cut all ties with him. What's important to note here, though, is that Universe also insists, just like she did back in May, that she had no idea what was going on. She said, "I wasn't honestly sure about the things that were going on. I didn't think this person was capable of doing these awful things." Melody said, "You sounded so sure when you sent them those messages, claiming the 13-year-old was not a blameless victim, etc., as recently as a few weeks ago. When the call-out post was first posted over a month ago by the original child involved, within the hour you contacted those involved." Universe replied, "It's because I felt sympathy towards him, okay? I had been accused of being a PDF file before in the Steven Universe fandom." I'm so tired. Yeah, Melody wasn't buying any of this because the thing is, Universe's claims of ignorance simply didn't make sense when compared to her actions. Melody also provided me with more details about what happened in the Steven Universe fandom, although I think this should be taken with a grain of salt. Because, as you'll see soon, Universe is not only a liar, but an incredibly shameless one. So, the story, at least as far as Universe told it to Melody, was that Universe used to be in the Steven Universe fandom and was shipping a child character with characters that were thousands of years old. The fandom didn't like that, Universe doubled down, and yada yada yada. Universe got thrown out of the fandom. But, again, take all of that with a grain of salt, because based on everything I know about Universe now, pretty sure we're not hearing the full story. Anyway, near the end of the conversation, Universe insisted she wanted to do the right thing and apologize. Melody asked her how we could trust her when it was entirely possible for Universe to block Zem, take screenshots showing she blocked him, and then unblock him. That's gonna be extremely funny later. But, Universe insisted. She promised, once again, to cut ties with Zem, adding that she always keeps her promises. She didn't believe in what Zem was doing or try to justify what he did. No. I also find the phrase, "I hate knowing that people see me this way," rather telling. Zem, Fluffy, and Universe truly are just eerie reflections of one another. So, barely 36 hours after all of this, I mentioned Melody's conversation with Gravity Universe to someone who'd previously been helping me gather information on the Zem situation. To be honest, I mentioned it in a, "isn't it nice? Maybe this'll all finally be over now," kind of way. But oh boy, was I wrong. Because as you can see here, Universe had indeed lied to Melody about cutting ties with Zem. The person I was talking to said she had no clue. I told her about Zem and Nathan's situation in June. She's still friends with him, and to what extent Universe knew about Zem would become clearer later that day when the person I was speaking to discussed the situation with someone else who was able to provide the most damning evidence of all. On the day Nathan released his own call-out on November 29th, Gravity Universe, presumably right after realizing she'd angered me with her "not a blameless victim" DM, ran to a former friend of Zem's for help in retaliating against Nathan. Universe said, "Hey, I need help. Nathan called out Zem. Please, I need help because there were some things that he lied about." When the other person asked what happened, Universe said, "Jamie from the Amalgamate server made an announcement saying that Nathan made a Google Doc calling out Zem for grooming and manipulating Nathan into buying things for him." The other person asked, "Does she have screenshots?" Universe replied, "Yeah, but in some of them, Zem makes it a point that it's not sexual or that he was joking. As for the manipulation, that's a complete lie because Nathan offered to him himself to buy him things." This is so disturbing to me. What Universe is saying here is that she saw all the not safe for work and inappropriate things Zem said around Nathan and still thinks that's okay because Zem insisted it was all platonic and a joke. And of course, Universe continues to victim blame Nathan by saying the 13-year-old child was at fault for the money that was spent in a situation where the power dynamic involved a 13-year-old being emotionally manipulated by a 22-year-old while being overall pressured in a server by people like Fluffy, who's 26, and Gravity Universe, who's 24. But oh, it gets worse. The person Universe was speaking to here made sure to remind Universe of just how far Zem went with Nathan, including showing her screenshots in which Zem was talking about sucking D around Nathan, and proof that Zem had even gone so far as to draw not safe for work art of Nathan's OCs. Universe seemed strangely unbothered by all these reminders. Understandably disgusted by all of this, the person Universe was speaking to said, "Zem is in the wrong for talking to a child like that and claiming he wanted Jamie dead. L reaction, you'll see one day." To which Universe merely replied, "Okay," and blocked him. This whole conversation is chilling. This person reminded Universe that Zem was inappropriate around minors, with screenshot evidence of all of it, and reminded Universe that Zem had talked about wanting me dead, and all she had to say to all of that was, "Okay." I was then shown this screenshot in which good old Zemaroon himself says that the moment Gravity Universe was done promising Melody that she'd cut ties with Zem, Universe went straight to Zem to tell him about the conversation and to assure him that she was absolutely not going to cut ties with him. I love how Zemaroon blames everything that happened to him on just the internet. Ooh. Oh, and also, of course, he blames Nathan. Sorry to burst your little conspiracy bubble here, Zem, but I don't think Nathan has literally ever spoken to Melody. And so, with a heavy heart, I had to go to Melody and tell her that Universe had lied to her. Lied about cutting off Zem, lied about knowing how bad Zem was all along, and the fact that Universe had even went so far as to go behind Melody's back as soon as they were done talking. Melody was absolutely devastated. She'd been friends with the Universe for 2 years at this point. Universe was even a mod in some of her servers, although Universe was immediately banned, of course, and Melody also began telling other server admins what kind of person they'd been entrusting with mod duties, so Universe was banned from a bunch of other servers too. And I guess Universe didn't enjoy facing the consequences of her own actions, because I found out on the 27th of December that she literally did the exact thing Melody said Universe was gonna do. She said she'd block Zem, blocked him, took screenshots to prove that she'd blocked him, and then unblocked him. What is this? Middle school? Universe, are you freaking serious? Are you for real right now? You are 24 years old. How are all these grown-ass adults out here literally acting like children up until they're actually around real children, and then suddenly it's a not safe for work free-for-all? I feel like I'm going insane. Okay, that's all I wanted to say about GravityUniverse115 and why I decided to disclose her involvement in the Zemaroon situation and no longer censor her name. God, I hate all of this. But despite that, before we finish up this miserable video, here are a few fun new pieces of information I've learned about Zemaroon since the call-out video was released. Turns out, on top of using the N-word and the R-word, he was apparently known to use the F-slur in the server too. Isn't that delightful? I also learned that despite people like Gravity Universe trying to convince us that Nathan wasn't at all manipulated or pressured into spending money on Zem, apparently Zem had been going around begging adults for money too. And he was sometimes successful, although other times not so much. Aww. Oh, and Zem also manipulated minors into drawing violent hate art of me. So, that's fun. I'm glad that Gravity Universe was totally fine with all of that. It's very cool. Anyway, to end this section of the video on at least a vaguely amusing note, guess what, y'all? Remember the story I told in the previous call-out video about the time Zem popped into the Amalgamate server for less than an hour in a failed attempt to raid it, and I said he shared some weird gif of the Kokichi figurine Nathan bought for him, except it was all like blinged out, and I lamented in the video that the image had sadly been lost to time? Well, guess what? Less than 24 hours after the video dropped, I found the damn thing. Just my luck. So, here you go. Zem's failed 45-minute raid in all its sparkly glory. Congratulations, Zem. I hope having a child pay nearly $200 to send this figurine to you so you could wave it around in the Amalgamate server like a trophy in order to troll several hundred innocent people was worth it to you. Anyway, this sucks. This whole thing sucks. So much. Despite my best attempt at maintaining enough of a lighthearted tone in this video to keep everyone from closing out the video out of sheer misery, the fact of the matter is that this whole thing has been a year of hell. Zem showed up in the Amalgamate server in December of 2023, so honestly, it's been over a year of hell. I didn't want to make another video. I didn't want any of this. I hate drama. I hate confrontation. I hate negativity. I hate how much time I had to spend on all of this. I hate all of this so much. I wanted to start off 2025 with some small semblance of hope that things could improve. And instead, I've spent the first month of 2025 wading through screenshots showing nothing but selfishness and ugliness and cruelty. I wanted to try moving forward, yet here I am once again. It's sucked the fun out of everything. All the joy, all the humor. It's like, what are we even doing here? Fandoms are supposed to be fun. Fiction and fandoms, they're meant to be an escape from reality, spaces to be entertained, and to have a good time, and to maybe even make friends. But I'm not having fun. Are you all having fun? Because I'm at the point now where I find myself wondering sometimes, was any of this ever fun? I mean, surely it must have been, because I wouldn't be here fighting so hard to raise awareness if I didn't love these fandoms and the people within the fandom so much. But everything has been so awful for so long now, and it feels like it just keeps getting worse. And I find myself no longer even able to remember what things were like before. I don't want anyone else to end up feeling like I do right now. So seriously, if you are someone under the age of 18, I am begging you to please stay safe online. I know that when we're children, there's this desire to make ourselves seem older and more mature. We want to seem like we're adults around other adults. But the fact of the matter is that when you're under 18, you're not. You're not an adult. And if an adult ever tries to put you in an adult situation, please remove yourself as fast as humanly possible. It's never okay for an adult to try and engage in inappropriate conversations with you or to bring up inappropriate topics around you. Not under any circumstances. Even if you think it might be funny, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Not all adults will necessarily have good intentions. You can't truly know who another person is online. Also, if you see something, say something. If an adult is giving you a weird feeling or has a strange vibe that's making you uncomfortable, it's okay to remove yourself from the vicinity of that adult and to bring up your concerns to others. And if an adult has definitely done something to make you uncomfortable, please tell another adult. Even if you think you're overreacting about something that happened, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Especially because a smaller situation can eventually escalate into a bigger one. And if you ever think an adult has crossed a line with you or someone you know, I've included a link in the description of the video that you can use to report that behavior to the authorities. Don't worry about making a big deal out of something that you think might be nothing. If the authorities read over the report and feel it's not a big deal, that is for the professionals to decide, okay? And by the way, any adults watching this, adults can also be endangered by other adults online. We saw plenty of that in this whole mess. Both adults and minors, please always exercise caution when online. You can never truly know who you're talking to or what their intentions actually are. People online, they might be out to scam you out of money or to manipulate you into doing things you're not comfortable with or to isolate you from your safe spaces or to abuse you in some way for their own self-interest. People of all ages, please stay safe and please tell a trusted individual if you think something bad is going on. Everyone, watch out for each other, okay? And I also just wanted to say that Nathan, I am so sorry you ended up involved with not just one, but 3 adults who betrayed your trust and safety for an entire year. You are not to blame for this, okay? The power imbalance that was at play here was horrendous. You did not deserve the way these people treated you or the things they exposed you to. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to stop this in time or to help. I'm sorry I didn't take action the moment I sensed that something was amiss. I will never forgive myself for what happened here. I just truly hope you'll be able to recover and heal from this. And the same goes to everyone else who was affected by this awful mess. I know that throughout the past year, as well as in the aftermath of this disaster, so many people, both adults and minors, lost friendships over this, lost faith in others because of this, were manipulated and betrayed and hurt by all of this. I hope each and every one of you who was affected by this situation in some way will be able to start healing now. None of you deserved what Zemaroon, GravityUniverse115, and Agent0Fluffy put you all through. Unlike my last call out video, I don't have it in me to end this video on a joke. I just merely ask you all to stay safe. And if you feel you're comfortable doing so, please share this video or tell others about what you've learned here. The more awareness is raised in the various fandoms that are affected by this, the easier it'll be to prevent anything like this from happening again. For those of you watching this video who aren't following me for my fanfiction, art, and cosplay content, I hope this is the last time you'll ever see me. I don't ever want to have to make a video like this ever again. You can follow me here on YouTube, as well as my other socials, at Jamie Premack, if you're looking for lighthearted, drama-free content that hopefully makes fandoms feel fun. Because after all of this, I'm desperately trying to remember the fun in 2025. Anyway, that's all for now. And hopefully, forever. Thanks for watching.